And thanks so much for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather on the 16th day of October 2021. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service. I'll be hosting today's show. Up first on the hazardous weather graphic, we've got winter weather advisories out for the Kuskokwim Delta and Bristol Bay. And for the Kuskokwim Delta, that's out for tonight. Actually, both zones there, winter weather advisory out for the overnight period tonight. And for the Kuskokwim Delta, looking at 30 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts with maybe 2 inches of new snow. So the winds with the new snow will be reducing visibilities to a half mile at times, again, throughout the overnight period. That now on the increase along the coast. And of course, that includes Nunivak Island. Although I think it'll be a little too warm there for Nunivak Island to see any blowing snow conditions. But for Bristol Bay, winter weather advisory also for the overnight period tonight, and looking for 4 to 8 inches of snow to fall in that area with winds gusting as high as 55 miles per hour. And that's for the area north and west of Dillingham for the heaviest amounts, and lighter conditions off to the east and southeast of Dillingham. And that, again, out for the overnight period tonight and improving tomorrow. Moving on to the satellite imagery, you can see that pretty good storm frontal system pushing right on into the south, across into Bristol Bay, Alaska Peninsula, had pushed across the Pribilofs with 60 mile an hour wind gusts at St. George Island with about 0.8 of an inch of rainfall with that, and about 50 mile an hour wind gusts occurring at Nikolsky as that front passed through. Cold Bay seeing peak wind gusts at least to 62 miles per hour at mid-afternoon today, and may be higher until the front moves through, and about third of an inch of precipitation falling there. Adak had about an inch of rain with the front. Main low center now just north or east of Shemya there, and they're on the back side of the low center on the west side there, and northwest winds gusting anywhere from 40 to 60 miles an hour from the northwest over that area there on the other side of the low, and lighter wind conditions there on the east side. Winds coming down now for the Pribilofs, and still pretty brisk though for Adak and Atka in those areas. And moisture on the increase as well along the southwest coast this afternoon. Temperatures into the basically above freezing, 37 degrees Cape Newnham, for example, and they've picked up a few hundredths of an inch of rainfall with winds along the southwest coastal areas kicking up 40 to 45 miles an hour currently, and expected to go as high as 55 miles an hour, as I mentioned, for Bristol Bay. Otherwise, over the inland areas, you can see a lot of lower top clouds along and north of the Yukon River, and even to the south, some light snow, which ended at Fairbanks. They picked up maybe half inch or less in the area there. Bettles, though, had light snow the entire day, around an inch or so falling, give or take your location there in the Koyukuk Valley. That same condition really under the cloud-covered area there, but amounts pretty light, just basically less than an inch of snow to less than a half inch. And also some snow up on the central Arctic coast, anywhere from half an inch to maybe an inch falling in areas there on the central coast, some flurries on the east side, and some clearing along the northwest coast with offshore flow, Kivalina up to about Point Hope there, seeing some clearing today. Nome, light snow, but Wales reporting clear skies, although Cirrus now moving up into the Bering Strait there. And low pressure southwest of the Queen Charlotte Islands, most of the moisture along that frontal boundary off to the east, moving into British Columbia. Narrow band shifted up into the Prince of Wales Island area over toward across Ketchikan, Metlakatla, Hyder, Stewart. Just clouds of that, very little in the way of any precipitation, very weak as it moved up out of Dixon Entrance. As you can see right there, just rotating up all the moisture into Canada and to the south and southeast, and will stay that way. The way it looks right now. Otherwise, some moisture moved into the Prince William Sound area today. Mixed rain and snow and a few hundredths of an inch of liquid water equivalent there at Valdez, about 15 hundredths at Cordova, kind of a weak band upper trough moving through there. Otherwise, again, high pressure north of Yakutat, made for mostly clear skies over the panhandle today. Dry conditions, some flurries over the interior, as I mentioned. Then the tightening gradient there with increasing winds along the southwest coast, Alaska Peninsula. That pushes eastward, and look for 40 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts with rain heavy at times for Kodiak Island tonight. And the winter weather advisories out for Bristol Bay and the Kuskokwim Delta. Look for also some snow and blowing snow to develop for the Yukon Delta, and winds will increase St. Lawrence Island. Snowfall amounts this point in time doesn't look like they'll be too heavy, at least through tonight. And it should dry out southern Seward Peninsula with some snow on the north side there, and still a chance of flurries there, probably ending for the eastern Arctic coast. Dry over the interior, stays dry in the panhandle. Any shower activity probably will stay put in Dixon Entrance, and even that'll be light. Winds diminish, high pressure builds in the far western Aleutians. Those strong northwest winds kick eastward there across Adak and Atka. And then I'll continue to move eastward tomorrow, becoming more northerly there for the Fox Islands, improving for Adak and Atka. Next front brings rain, increasing winds to the far western Aleutians, and chance of rain and snow across southern Alaska, especially the coastal areas there. Heaviest Kodiak Island up into the southern Cook Inlet area, southern Kenai Peninsula. Mostly sunny for the Panhandle, mostly sunny for the interior. Flurries for the North Slope Arctic coast. That continues into Monday as well, with rain, storm force winds developing along the Panhandle, and gales along the North Gulf Coast into the Barren Islands, with a chance of rain right along the coastline there. Interior looking good under high pressure with maybe some mostly clear skies. Flurries continue eastern central Arctic coast. Next system pushing eastward, increase the wind, rain and snow, or wind and snow, St. Lawrence Island, changing over to rain late in the day and evening. Warm front approaching Nunivak Island. Lows tonight in the 20s across southern Alaska, near 30 or in the 30s along the coast, upper 20s to mid 30s for the Panhandle. Highs tomorrow, 40s for the southeast coast, southern Alaska, mid 40s Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay, near 40, southern Kuskokwim Valley, lower 30s for the north, McGrath Nikolai, mid 30s Copper River Basin, followed by lows down around 20 for the northern Kuskokwim Valley and lower 20s Copper River Basin, upper 20s the Sitna Valley, otherwise in the 30s above freezing for Manuska Valley, Kenai Peninsula, Palmer, Anchorage, all the way down to Homer. Mid 40s for your lows for Kodiak Island, in the 30s for the Panhandle. Highs for the next day, 40s to lower 50s southeast coast, mid 30s for the Copper River Basin, in the 30s Kuskokwim Valley, otherwise 40s to upper 40s Kodiak Island. Up north there, right around zero, maybe a shade below for the North Slope, otherwise single numbers in teens and teens, mid-teens for the central eastern Tanana Valley, followed by highs in the lower 30s there in the central interior. Teens and 20s out toward the Arctic coast, followed by lows again, 5 below to 5 above for the North Slope Brooks Range. In the teens, single numbers for the Arctic coast, and upper teens for the central interior. The upper 20s out toward St. Lawrence Island. Highs on Monday afternoon, 25 to 35 central interior, teens in the Brooks Range North Slope, mid-20s portions of the Arctic coast out west. Lows tonight, 30s to lower 40s. Highs tomorrow in the 40s, followed by lows in the mid-30s to near 40 degrees, depending on your location. Upper 20s for the southwest coast, followed by highs in the 40s to near 50-degree range.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
And weather graphics Sunday morning, some VFR, eastern Arctic coast, central and western Arctic coast, marginal into the central North Slope. Some IFR there, Koyukuk Valley into the eastern slope, or the southern slopes of the eastern Brooks Range, and the mid-Yukon River Valley, marginal, then IFR in the lower valley out to the southwest coast, southeast Bering Sea, Pribilof, St. Matthew Island, just down to north shore of Unalaska Island, IFR, and across Bristol Bay, and in across southwest mountains, maybe southern Kuskokwim Valley, northern Kuskokwim Valley VFR, marginal VFR, south central Alaska, Manuska Sitna Valley, and some VFR for the greater Fairbanks and Nana area, and along the, probably over to Delta, Eielson, on down into the Wrangell Mountains. Eagle, possibly VFR, North Gulf Coast, marginal VFR, Prince William Sound included, VFR for the Panhandle. And for the afternoon, shaping up for the southeast coast, kind of conditions come down in the afternoon with some marginal VFR overspreading most of the area, but not quite everywhere. And then mostly VFR along the Yukon River Valley, Kuskokwim River, looking good down until you get into the Delta there. And then southward, Togiak Bay, Cape Newenham over to Dillingham, IFR. King Salmon Igigik, though, marginal. Iliamna Lake, marginal VFR. Cook Inlet, marginal. and some VFR lingering, or VFR for the Matanuska-Susitna Valley, Northern Cook Inlet, Turnagain Arm, and IFR, Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast, and Kodiak Island IFR, mostly Alaska Peninsula. Big zone of VFR breaking out, AKwx westward to Kiska Island, and then the outer edge of the next IFR with the next system just west of Attu Island. That pushes in across Attu and Shemya for Monday morning. Otherwise, VFR, Adak and Atka, marginal for the Pribilof, St. Lawrence Island, Eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, VFR, Southwest Coast. Much of the interior looking pretty good with mostly VFR from the Koyukuk Valley, western Yukon Flats northward, though. Marginal VFR with IFR, western Arctic coast. IFR, southern Kenai Peninsula to Montague Island and down across Kodiak Island. Maybe into southern Prince William Sound, but the Panhandle, Yakutat on down, Dixon Entrance, VFR. And for the afternoon, again, downward trending conditions for the Panhandle, especially out along the coast. It's becoming marginal VFR, but VFR central and inner channels there over toward the border. VFR, most of interior Alaska from the Brooks Range on out to the Arctic coast, marginal VFR with the IFR central and eastern Beaufort Sea coast. IFR near St. Lawrence Island southward just west of the Pribilofs. VFR western and eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, Bristol Bay, marginal VFR, Adak and Atka. Passes Anatuvik, marginal, split the difference here, VFR for Adigan. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR times throughout the day. Sunday, rainy, starting out marginal, becoming VFR probably by midday through the afternoon into evening. Windy, starting out possibly marginal VFR, becoming VFR, might be VFR the entire day. And Isabel, same trend, starting out marginal, becoming VFR. And Mentesta, VFR the entire day, either entrance. Tanita, marginal VFR, becomes VFR. Portage, VFR, look for downward trending conditions, especially on that eastern entrance, moisture coming in from the east and southeast from the sound. So possible IFR, again, on the eastern entrance late in the day. And Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels 2,000 feet well north of the Pribilofs near St. Matthew Island, down along the southwest coast, just south of Kodiak, and then into the southern Panhandle. Icing, area of considerable moderate rime icing with that weather system there pushing across Kodiak Island, Fognak Island up into Kamishak Bay, with lesser icing threats pushing north into the North Gulf Coast, maybe the southwest Copper River Basin, Susitna Valley. Next system out to the west just starting to affect Shemya and Attu. Otherwise, most everywhere else will be icing free. And the jet stream, upper level low south of Kodiak Island. West of that system, we've got northwest jet, 170 knots across the Bering Sea. And then south, 105 knots, almost into the southern Gulf of Alaska, turning westerly and dropping off to 70 knots. Kind of a ridging effect over the Panhandle for tomorrow. And then westerlies, North Slope, Brooks Range, 55 to 65 knots. 9,000 feet, cyclonic flow around that low. Strongest wind, southern Alaska, 60 knots. Eastern Aleutians, 65 knots. And 3,000 feet. Again, complex low center, 55 knot winds, Prince William Sound. North 55 for the Eastern Aleutians. And turbulence, widespread moderate chop. Kenai Peninsula, westward, southwest coast, Alaska Peninsula, Eastern Aleutians, Kodiak Island.
Dual polarization technology is a major upgrade to the current radar system. It allows forecasters a better idea of what's actually out there and can help keep you safe.
Current radar technology transmits and receives information in the horizontal direction, which is very limited. Dual polarization technology, in addition to the horizontal, transmits and receives vertical energy, which allows forecasters to get information about the size, shape, and phase of the precipitation. We can use that information to better determine the precipitation type to expect at your given location.
There you have it. This new technology is currently being installed in radars across the country and is already being used by National Weather Service forecasters to produce better, more accurate forecasts. Learn more here and follow us. Want to know about the future of weather radar? Well, the National Severe Storms Lab has it here with its new phased array radar. Let's check it out.
It's a non-moving radar. It has 4 faces of the antenna, each pointing in different directions. One of the big advantages is that we're seeing so far, it can sample the area around the radar in less than a minute, maybe even a half a minute. And this is 5-6 times faster than what they can do today.
NSSL is leading the development of future weather radar with this project. Learn more here and follow us. The Storm Prediction Center is one of the NOAA weather partners. They are located in the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. Greg Carbon gives us a glimpse into what the SPC does.
Our mission is to analyze and forecast severe thunderstorms and the potential for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds from those thunderstorms across the lower 48 states, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. One of the primary missions of the Storm Prediction Center is the issuance of severe thunderstorm and tornado watches across the country when conditions appear to be coming together to support the development of severe thunderstorms and tornadoes.
The world-class meteorologists in the Storm Prediction Center specialize in severe weather and keeping you safe. Learn more here and follow us.
The National Severe Storms Lab is working on increasing the lead time for severe weather warnings. The national average for tornado warnings is currently 13 minutes, but more notice would be helpful, especially for those in charge of moving large groups to shelter. Warn on Forecast will help forecasters issue hazardous weather warnings earlier. The project will give them more info about the chances of strong winds, large hail, and even tornadoes.
Currently, warnings are created by forecasters looking at the atmosphere outside, understanding its volatility, and then comparing that to how they see the Doppler radar presenting what's going on inside thunderstorms. Warn on Forecast is an idea where we're going to take the massive amounts of satellite, radar, and surface data and stick them all into a very high resolution prediction model. And then by producing new forecasts every 15 or 20 minutes, the forecasters hopefully will be able to use that model to produce warnings that extend out to an hour.
Before the National Weather Service can use this tool, it must be developed and tested. One big challenge will be deciding how to get the model predictions to the forecasters.
I'm going to keep this one very low. I'm just adjusting the track.
These hazardous weather prediction models are going to produce a huge amount of output. And this fire hose of data is just too much for forecasters to handle in real time quickly. So in order to help deal with that, NSSL has developed a related project called Facets. And Facets is the methodology which will enable forecasters to focus very quickly on the most important threats.
Once Warn on Forecast and Facets are proven to be reliable and effective, then forecasters will be better able to inform you of threats nearby. Learn more here and follow us.
The Hazardous Weather Test Bed is located at the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. It is used for experiments that will allow forecasters to learn and apply new technologies.
The Hazardous Weather Test Bed is a really unique space throughout all of NOAA. And this is where the researchers and the operational folks come together in a common space to solve operational problems and to test new research tools that the research community is working on. The goal is to accelerate the transfer from research to operations of the newest tools and techniques.
People come from around the world to collaborate on this unique project.
And we can bring together not only NOAA people, but also university people, faculty, researchers, private sector meteorologists, folks working in other countries in meteorology, forecasters can all come together and focus on what the problem of the day is with the forecasters.
Each spring, several experiments occur in the hazardous weather test bed. Learn more here and follow us.
What are you looking at? And what are you ignoring? Did you notice the NOAA logo in the corner? Forecasters have a lot of information in front of them too. Every second counts during severe weather, and decisions about where to focus are constantly being made. This could be even more challenging in the future. Phased array radar will produce 4 to 6 times more information than what we have now, which brings us to the question researchers are hoping to answer. Will more radar information affect forecasters' decisions?
From our past experiments, we've learned a lot about how forecasters think during the warning decision process, but we've also learned that those thought processes are very complex, and for that reason, we need a better way to be able to track forecasters' cognitive activity.
Inbounds and possibly golf ball sized hail.
An eye tracker is a piece of technology that is used to determine in real time where someone's eye gaze is located. And these eye trackers are typically video-based, which means a camera sits below a computer monitor, and with infrared light and vector analysis, we can determine where a person is looking and how their eyes are moving.
Eye tracking is already being used in the medical field and air traffic control. Using similar research methods, NSSL is discovering the benefit for weather forecasting too. Phased array radar will give forecasters a lot more to think about. Understanding their decision-making process will help researchers develop even more user-friendly tools. So what's the benefit for you? Even better weather warnings. To learn more, check us out online and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis. Not a lot different from yesterday, maybe a shade farther to the south. New ice still forming up in the main ice field there, and kind of advancing a little bit to the southwest. That'll continue through Monday. Then Tuesday, Wednesday time frame, easterly winds are expected to increase considerably, and that'll begin to advance the ice back to the north or northwest a little bit, mostly the northwest during that time frame there. So moving on to coastal water forecasts, we've got for the southeast coast, inside waters, pretty light winds, especially Link Canal Glacier Bay, 10 knots, varying directions there. Seas pretty slight. East-southeast winds, central southern inside waters, 15 knots, 3 to 5 foot seas. Out in the south coast, south to southeast winds, 15 to 20 knots, seas 7 feet. Small craft advisories on the north coast, winds coming up to 25 knots, direction southeast, seas running 6 to 8 feet. And big increase in the wind. Storm warnings out for Monday for the Panhandle there, as on the south coast, winds southeast increasing to 50 knots, seas right around 25 feet. North coast east winds 45 to 50 knots, seas right around 25 feet. Small craft advisories for Clarence Strait for east winds at 25 knots. Stevens Passage small craft advisories northeast at 25. And Link Canal variable to northwest at 15 with seas at 3 feet. Cook Inlet tomorrow for Sunday, northeast winds 30 knots, good for small craft advisories, 7 to 10 foot seas. Prince William Sound also looking at small craft advisories, east winds increasing to 30 knots, seas building to 7 feet. And gale warnings for the North Gulf Coast, east-southeast winds at 40 knots. And for the Barren Islands and Kemishak Bay, east winds 45 knots, just under storm force there, with seas just under 20 feet. Outlook for Monday. Southern Cook Inlet, small craft advisories, northeast at 25 knots. Northern Cook Inlet, north at 15. Prince William Sound, northeast winds 20 knots, 4 foot seas. Gales continue for the North Gulf Coast, out of the east and northeast at 40 knots. Seas 20 to 22 feet. Barren Islands, northeast at 40 with 20 foot seas. Kemishak Bay, north winds 30 knots, seas 10 feet. Kodiak Island, winds just under storm force out of the east for Shelikof Strait, sustained 45 knots. East side of Kodiak, south 45 knots, seas around 20 feet. Small craft advisories for the Alaska Peninsula, northwest winds 30 knots. Gale warnings for Bristol Bay. Winds east at 35, seas around 10 feet. And for Monday, gale warnings from Castle Cape to Cape Sarachev there on the south side of the peninsula. And then 40-knot winds from Castle Cape up to Sitkinak and the east side of Kodiak Island. Northerlies 40 knots and 35 knots out of the North Shelikof Strait. Bristol Bay north winds 25 knots. And for the far western Aleutians, Shemya to Kiska, south 25 knots, but gale warnings from Chitka Island, northwest at 40, and gale warnings also out for the remainder of the Aleutians. For Adak and Atka, northwest winds 45 knots. Eastern Aleutians, northwest mostly 40 knots, and seas running 17 to 23 feet. Outlook for Monday, 40-knot winds, or winds increasing to 40 knots for the Shemya 2 area, and coming up to 35 knots late in the day from the southwest for Kiska Dam Chitka. Otherwise, Adak and Atka southwest at 30, and small craft advisories for the Fox Islands. Unamak Island looking at southwest winds 25 knots. Unalaska Island west 25 to 30 knots. And for the southwest coast on Sunday, small craft advisories, northeast winds 30 knots, seas around 12 feet. Gale warnings for the Pribilof Islands, northwest at 35, seas 16 feet. St. Matthew Island, north at 35, 18-foot seas. St. Lawrence Island, northeast winds at 35 knots, seas 13 feet. Norton Sound, small craft advisories, northeast winds at 25 knots. And for Monday, southwest coast, kind of variable there, but 30 knots for the speed out of the southeast for the Yukon Delta coast, northeast for the Kuskokwim Delta coast. Small craft advisories for the Pribilof, south at 30 knots. St. Matthew Island, south 40 knots. St. Lawrence Island, southeast winds at 30 knots. Arctic coast, not too bad tomorrow, central and east side. Variable winds at 10 knots to westerlies at 10 on the central coast. North 15, west side, and small craft advisories from Cape Thompson to Wales for north winds at 25 knots. And for Tuesday, or Monday, east at 15 for the area Wales to Cape Thompson. Otherwise, light winds south to southwest to southwest, 10 knots on the western and central coast, west 10 to 15 on the east side. And for tonight, big storm coming in, wind and rain, Kodiak Island, snow advisory, southwest interior. Improves over the Yukon Delta tomorrow, chance of moisture over southern Alaska.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.